Depends what you mean by free will. When people hear, for example, about Martin Luther writing on the bondage of the will, they will very quickly think, well, that cannot be true because I do what I want. I act according to what I want to do, therefore, obviously, I have free will. And in that sense, if that is what you mean by free will, Luther would say, absolutely, you do what you want. But his point in the bondage of the will was to say, yes, but you do not choose what to want. So you go through life acting according to your desires, but your problem is you have your desires bent in a particular direction, and you do not naturally love God. So we walk according to the desires of the flesh, Ephesians 2. And we find the desires, James 1, 14, 15, that desire naturally gives birth to sin. And so therefore, while sinners go through the world, go through lives, happily saying, I'm doing whatever I want to do, that's true. But they only want to pursue the flesh. They never want God. And so the point of Luther's argument on the bondage of the will is to say, you cannot simply tell these people to behave better, because the grain of their heart is oriented towards the flesh and sin and not towards loving God. And the only thing that can change that is the preaching of God's word, is the gospel being preached, because as a preacher, I can harangue people and tell people to behave better, and I can actually achieve that, potentially. What I cannot achieve, and which only the gospel can achieve, is heart change. When the gospel of Christ is proclaimed, then hearts turn for the very first time. This is weaving together everything you've been saying this morning. Hearts change from a love for sin to, for the very first time, a miraculous spirit-born love for God. And that's why, as the Reformation have happily always stood with Luther in talking about the bondage of the will, because it means that in pastoring, I need to recognize that people can't simply improve their behavior. I need to preach the gospel to them. And I'm going to be a cruel pastor to them if I think they have free will, in the sense of they can always choose to act in a holy way on the basis of their own abilities. They don't. They need to have the gospel so that their hearts are changed. And it's a belief in the bondage of the will that can sound like bad news, but it is the key to compassionate pastoring. Because only when I see that people are naturally floundering, helpless in their sin, then do I find my compassion leaping forward, and I see what they need is not me telling them to do better. What they need is the gospel. They need Christ as Savior.